All right, so this is Chloe's roadmap to success, and she's all pooped and tired out, so she's over in her little bed sleeping. But I just want to remind the guardian of a couple things that we went over today. So one of the first things that we went over is the leadership exercise. So I want you to be practicing that for about once a day for the next 30 days. That's just remember your way of reinforcing that the new dynamic shift in the house and that you're taking that leadership or guardian position. And that's just to help her see you in that spot, in that light, so that way when someone comes to the door, she knows that you're in control of the house and that you're going to take care of her. So it kind of lets her relax and just be a dog, and she doesn't have to worry about who's at the door. It's mostly up to you, and she can look to you for direction. After the 30 days, I would start doing some maintenance, so going down to at least doing it once a week for the next month, and then getting to the point of just doing it maybe once a month for the foreseeable future, just so you don't regress backwards and things like that. I always practice this once a month with my dogs, and I've been doing this for a couple of years. So I just do it on the first of every month so I don't forget, and that keeps things pretty well structured in the home. A couple of other things, rules, remember that we're doing furniture with permission only, so having her sit first and then being invited up, and then having her sit before she goes outside. You can have her sit before you're putting on the leash, things like that. So just asking her to do things like that so she has delayed gratification when she's building up that impulse control. When dogs start to kind of bark quite a bit at people going by or nipping at their heels at any point, that's usually an issue with impulse control. So by teaching her to stop, pause, think, and then look to you for direction, you're going to help a huge amount with that alone by reinforcing that she should be looking to you for direction and leadership. Then we also went over the claiming the door exercise. If you forget some of the rules on how to go about that, you can go to our website, dogonproblems.com, click on dog training tips. Then you'll see a search bar on the right-hand side, and in that, just type in claiming the door. We have a bunch of videos on there about how to go about that, so if you do need any practice or you need any refreshers, just go ahead and watch some of those tutorials. Remember that you can also videotape, not videotape, but get an audio clip of your doorbell or someone knocking on the door. You can practice knocking on the door, record it on your phone, so that way you can be sitting on the couch and then randomly play that and get her going, so you can practice even when people aren't here. The more times you practice, the better, because it'll just help her know where that invisible boundary is that you've set, and then remember to use escalating consequences to disagree with her if she crosses that boundary. Remember, for that exercise, she doesn't have to lay down or anything. She just has to stay behind the boundary. If she is barking, just wait that out. She'll eventually stop barking on her own. So ignore the barking behavior, and that'll eventually stop on its own. When you have people over, and you do have a real guest on the other side of the door, just ask them to come in and ignore her and just kind of walk past her until she's nice and calm, and then they can pet her and engage with her. When we're talking about guests, I want to remind you that when she goes into her kennel, that can be kind of her off-limits space. So that way, if kids or friends are over and she just needs a place to kind of quietly go away and relax and get a nap in, and she's kind of done being social, she has that quiet space. That's one of the best ways to help keep a dog from nipping or growling at people, because she has a place that she knows she can retreat to, that's her own, that she can have as being like her own quiet spot. So that's another thing that you want to incorporate. And then remember to use the petting with a purpose to reward good behavior. Have her sit before you pick her up or before you start petting her. Again, it's just teaching her to look to you for direction, and it's her way of saying please. So it's a really good manners, and over time she should just be coming over to you and sitting in front of you to look for that kind of direction. You can watch the video above this one to practice the spin and the touch exercise. Remember, we want to keep our training sessions short, to about 1 to 3 minutes or so. If it's under 1 minute, even better, honestly. I tend to grab 3 or 4 treats when I bring my dogs in from a potty break, work with them on a couple of different exercises or a new one. If I'm doing a new exercise, I just work on one at each time, or if it's something I'm just refreshing their memories, I'll do a couple of different exercises, and then that's it. So if you practice doing a couple of training things several times a day for less than a minute, she's going to be better trained because of how many more opportunities she gets for learning and going through those and practicing it. And then lastly, I want to remind you that that's not last. One more thing, the look exercise, just to refresh. Remember that closer she is to whatever she's barking at, the harder it'll be for her to stop. So if you are taking her for a walk and someone's coming down the street, you might have to just walk across the street to give her a little more space. What I want you to do is wait for her to look at the dog, the person, or whoever she's barking at on her own. Wait for her to do that. So she looks, say the word look, and then give her a treat. As you practice this over time, you're going to be able to get closer to people or dogs that she's barking at, and you're going to be able to wait longer before you give her the treat. In the beginning, it's going to be look, treat, just to keep her distracted enough. But remember, if she's having a hard time, move further away. Distance equals calmness. The farther she is, the better, to help her learn how to relax. And over time, you'll be able to get closer and closer with her being able to be calm. And it does teach her to look to you for direction, because she'll be looking back to you, looking at whatever makes her nervous, and then looking to you to get a treat. And it's also teaching her to look at you to kind of check in and see if everything's okay. All right, so that's what you can be doing with that. Remember, when she is greeting other dogs, let her smell for a minute and then have her go away before she's ready to be done. So it creates that anticipation and that desire to go back and see the dog instead of starting to stand there too long and get nervous. So you're creating that kind of curiosity in her. So remember that if she's smelling a dog, have her come away from the dog before she's really ready, and then she can go back and smell again, and then have her come back until she's able to kind of stay nice and calm in those situations. All right, so now lastly, remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.